All right, welcome into the D Gress Podcast, episode 13, Dan Marino edition. We're recording this on a beautiful Tuesday, March 15th, 2022, 2 days before St. Patty's Day. It is about 61 degrees in Dickinson, sun's out, beautiful, can't complain. Be a perfect beard arts day, but Grant and I are out here working and got a lot to talk about. NCAA Tournament starting tonight, first 4 games in Dayton. That's going to be continuing to Wednesday with the round of 64 starting on Thursday. NFL free agency is off and running. There's already the illegal tampering period is going on. The MLB and MLBPA was able to figure out their new CBA. Free agency has taken off on that. I don't think we'll have time for that today, but we will be have Ethan on next week. So him and I will discuss that. So like I said, we have a recurring guest here on the D Gress Podcast. This is his 3rd appearance, and he's the brand new owner of an iPhone 13. As you can see, he is a fan of the Big Ten champion Iowa Hawkeyes in basketball, not football. But so the pride of Mankato, Minnesota, Grant Castor.
Hey man, thanks for having me on again. You know, you're spot on. What a year for the Hawks. You know, Big Ten West champs. Gets spanked to the title game, but hey, made it there. Respect to your Michigan Wolverines. It was their day. It was their year. Women's basketball, they probably got the Women's Player of the Year in Caitlin Clark. Men's basketball, Big Ten tourney champs, first team All-American Keegan Murray. Probably a lottery pick, and a team that's exciting and fun to watch. So let's get these games started on Thursday and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, like I said, got some games going on tonight. Should promise to be some good ones. But we got to start with the NFL. There some guys said he was decided to come back. He was retired. He didn't. Pulled a little bit of a Brett Favre, but I wouldn't consider it because he didn't drag it out. He was being the team guy Tom Brady is. Made it the decision before. So Tom Brady is back to haunt the nightmares of basically anybody who doesn't like Tom Brady, which hard to believe. There's actually a good amount of them, unfortunately.
You know, I will say this for Tom Brady and the rest of the NFL in the NFC, there is going to be hell to be paid. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are collecting paychecks next year because they're going to come into this next year focused and energized, like I think a Tom Brady team we haven't seen before, because they now have a taste of what it's like to win the Super Bowl, and they now have a taste of what it's like to lose in the playoffs and get that ultimate dream taken away from you. And Tom doesn't want to make this about him, but this could be a little last dance-ish. With Jordan and Tom, he wants to go out on top. And you know what? His arch rival Peyton was able to go out on top. Sure, that Denver defense took him to the top of the mountaintop. Tom wants to go out on top like Elway, but it wants to be on his terms. And he just threw for 5,300 yards this year. So
passing, yeah, it's
going to be fun. And I'm excited that he's back. Let's get to August already. Can we just get to football season? Come on.
Yeah, well, you know the saying, we sleep in May, so but yeah, it's already coming helping because his center Ryan Jensen signed a new deal. They just signed a receiver from the Falcons whose name Rakeem Gage, gonna be a good pickup, could be a AB replacement. Godwin, hopefully he's gonna be coming back at some point during the season. I know they were able to work out a deal with him. Evans is coming back. That probably opens the door for Rob Gronkowski to come back as well.
I will say one thing that Tampa is going to have to fix, though, is their offensive line. Sure, they brought Jensen back, but I think Marpet retired, and their other guard, he just signed with the Bengals. Yep. So you lose two of the top 10 guards in the NFL from an offensive line that was the most consistent in the league last year in terms of starts together. I think they started all 17 games. So, that'll need to be addressed. But, which NFL team doesn't have holes to fix? And now they're going to have an offseason where Tom can get used to his receivers that he has, but also the other guys like Gage and Tyler Johnson, who he had some trouble with in the playoffs in terms of communication on where routes need to be ran and where Tom wanted Tyler to be. So if they get an offseason to fix that, watch out. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's always the league's just better with Tom Brady in, but we'll transition over to like you said, Alex Kappa signed with the Bengals, and the biggest need for the Bengals has been offensive line, and they're going right after it. They just signed Ted Karras from the Patriots, signed Alex Kappa. The Browns, just released J.C. Tretter, who's been one of the top centers in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals try to go after him. So obviously the Bengals are hungry for more, and they're going after it hard, going after that offensive line. Obviously losing Uzoma to the Jets is going to hurt, but I think the Bengals really did take a good hard look at the mirror and realize what they got to do to take that next step and become Super Bowl champions.
They probably did what the Chiefs did last year after they lost to the Bucs. On that flight home, they were probably disgusted as an organization, and they looked at each other and they said, we lost this game solely because we couldn't keep Joe Burrow up. Their defense played great. They were salty. They kept the Rams in front of them. They limited the big plays, but Burrow didn't have time, and they couldn't get a running game. So the Bengals are saying, you know what? We're an offensive line away from winning this whole thing. And they're taking the bull by the horns. And you know what? They're smart. They're taking advantage of a quarterback on a rookie deal. So you can pay these offensive linemen to protect this investment. So in 3 years, when it's time for Joe to sign his deal, you got these veterans locked in, and he can get his $40 million a year plus with no problem. And who knows, the Bengals can get back to the Super Bowl again, and maybe they'll win it this time.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way the market is going too, and you also have to take into account that their two top receivers in Higgins and Chase are also on rookie deals. Mm-hmm. And they signed Mixon the previous year. So, their bank account is pretty, and I mean, the Bengals are notoriously always very timid to spend in free agency. They really like building in the draft. They don't like to go out and spend a lot of money. So this is probably the best chance they're going to have. So they are going at it the right way and going after that offensive line, trying to keep them upright and, take advantage of while these weapons are cheap.
Oh, absolutely. Because, you see it around the league. Unfortunately, there's going to be some time down the road where you lose a player or two. Just now today in the NFC South, back to Tom's division, New Orleans Saints lost Marcus Williams. I saw he signed a nice deal with Baltimore. But, the Saints, they paid Michael Thomas, they paid Kamara, and, they paid Taysom Hill, which I'm not going to go into for my blood pressure's sake. And they're cap strapped now. And the Saints had a darn good defense last year, and Marcus was a big piece of that playing center field. But when you pay people, you're going to lose them. And they tried to win Super Bowls with Drew in years past. With this roster setup, they couldn't do it. And that's just the league for you. But that's why the NFL is so great, because the Bengals are going to have their run for the next 2 to 3 years. Who knows? My Chiefs, that might be a flash in the pan. It might be a 5-year Super Bowl window. We don't know, but that's why we can't get enough. And it'll be exciting to see the Bengals go forward and see if they can truly be the kings of the North, kind of like what Pittsburgh and Baltimore was before. If they can, take it by force. Yeah,
well, and the other thing too is that the AFC North right now, because you have the Bengals, you have the Ravens. Lamar's going to be healthy. They just signed Marcus Williams. They're going to challenge the NFC West for the best division in the NFL, I think, because the Browns aren't going away. Baker Mayfield is, as much as he struggled last year, I think a lot of it had to do with his injuries that he was playing through. They just traded for Amari Cooper. They traded for Chase Winovich today. Jury's up on still. He might be in a good spot there as that third pass rusher, but it's going to be a rock fight. And the Steelers, Mike Tomlin's still the coach. They just signed your good friend MVP Mitch, who you wanted over Patrick Mahomes.
These are facts.
Have to get that one in, but the Steelers have good weapons. They got to find a way to improve that offensive line, but defensively they're still pretty real solid. And I like I kind of like the addition with Trubisky. I think he adds a different dynamic that Ben did, be able to use his legs, something that they weren't able to do with Ben, and him and Najee Harris in the same backfield. You can definitely, especially in the red zone, his legs can add a different dynamic. And I think that he's going to be under some better coaching with Tomlin. And then, is it Matt Canada still, or did they hire a new guy?
Yep, still Matt Canada.
Okay, yeah. And I think they'll be under a little bit better coaching compared to what Matt Nagy was.
Yeah, I would agree. And I also think, Matt Nagy didn't utilize Mitch's skill set.
No.
He's an athletic player. He's got some legs. Get him out on the pocket. Get him rolling out to his right. Get moving to him left on some bootleg actions. Don't make him a stationary quarterback where he can't move. He'll be able to do that. You'll be able to utilize his skill set because he doesn't have the biggest arm. But you know what? If he can move, and if he can, while he's scrambling, get players open, that's only going to help him out so much more. And then also, for the Steelers' sake, again, Big Ben was a statue back there. And, Mitch gives them ability to avoid those sacks and then make plays happen with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool when the quarterback goes out of the pocket. And it's the backyard play like we saw earlier in Big Ben's career before these injuries ramped up and slowed him down.
Yeah. Well, and the other part too was, I think, is not discussed is you can dog on Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky all they want, but under him, they went to the playoffs twice. They never finished below 500. So as much as the limitations were, there's signs of potential. It's just how much they can maximize it. So we can actually stay in the switch over to Mitch Trubisky's old division in the Bears division, where Aaron Rodgers was announced he was returning. I don't know about you, Grant, but I always thought he was going to stay put. There was, as I know, emotionally, people would say, oh, yeah, he's gone for sure. But Aaron is a deep thinker. He did a cleanse. We don't have to talk about all what he did there. But I think he realized his best chance to win the Super Bowl, and I think he was content there. I think they were able to – they talked out him in the front office. They talked out their differences. He gets along with Devontae. He gets along with a lot of those guys. But at the same time, it came at a cost because they ended up having to cut one of the Smith brothers. Billy Turner is a cap casualty. I know as a Cowboys fan, I'd love to see him in a Cowboys uniform, but I also know a lot of Vikings fans would love to see him return home where the purple and gold.
Oh, absolutely. And, on Rodgers, I will be upfront when I say this. I thought he was done in Green Bay. I thought he did it 17 years. He was upset with the organization for all the years. They didn't, re-sign free agents that they let go somewhere else or try to sign free agents to come to Green Bay. I thought he was going to say, enough's enough. It was fun. I did everything I could, but with him maybe being just an athlete, he would want to go out and try to win somewhere else, in Denver or Pittsburgh with Tomlin. You saw the interaction on the sideline this year with those two, and even a team like Tennessee. If he could have gone to the AFC South with that running game, those two wide receivers, and that head coach and that good defense, that could, in that division, very winnable division.
Yeah.
In that conference, it could have been something special. But then also, I think you're right. He just kind of sat back and he said, I got something really special in Green Bay. These 3 years under LaFleur, well, especially these last two, he's been the MVP. This offense fits him. Him and Devontae have something that you can't replace that anywhere else. That's just years and years of a connection where they know they know each other is thinking and where they want to be. And also, if you look at the NFC North, they're the odds-on favorites. I like the Vikings as a team, but he would have got traded to Denver. You want to play Mahomes twice? You want to play Justin Herbert twice in a scrappy Las Vegas team 6 times a year? I don't.
Well, and not to mention, too,
I don't.
The Chargers, they're going after hard on the defense. I mean, they just traded for Khalil Mack, who, when he's healthy, is one of the best DNs. They have Joey Bosa on the other side, and then their interior D line is really solid too. So yeah, I think he knew that was his best chance, and the pressure is to the max this year for the Packers because they have to go out. They have to make the. I think they have to make the Super Bowl, or it's the legacy it's going to be the same as what Brett Favre was.
Well, and I think Devontae. I don't know his contract situation. I'm not going to play in the franchise tag. I'm not. He's handcuffed. Green Bay has all the control in the situation. I think he's only been tagged the one time. Yep. This time, not going to play. He's going to sit out this year, but he's not going to do Aaron dirty like that.
No.
Exactly. If anything, they're so tight. Aaron will sit back and you know what they'll say. Hey, you know what, Devontae, I know I'm coming back for, maybe 3, maybe 4 years. If we can get a deal done, great. If not, they'll have a private conversation. Me and you, let's do this together. And if not, I think Devontae's going to go, and then Aaron might void the last couple of years of his contract and say, you know what, I'm just done, guys.
Yeah, and there's no way to me that Devontae doesn't play or a deal doesn't get worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And also too, though, which with under the new CBA rules is if guys say they're holding out, and it's really done a good job of stopping holdouts and getting guys to show up to camp, is they just start fining them. And well, when it starts, you start missing those checks and start getting fined. It's amazing how people start showing up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everyone's got a plan, like Mike Tyson says, like hit the mouth. Also, everyone's got a plan until they start losing paychecks.
Yep, exactly. And we'll keep her moving here. Like we talked about previously about the Khalil Mack to the Chargers. We'll go over to the AFC West, where they just added another quarterback, Russell Wilson, traded from the Seahawks. He's got great weapons in Judy, KJ Hamler,
Cortland Sutton.
Yep, Cortland Sutton. The other receiver that Tim Patrick, I think, is his name, that just signed a contract extension. Yep. Unfortunately, Noah Fant was part of the casualties for that trade. I think he would have done really well. But the biggest question is with the Broncos is they have if they have to find a way to keep him upright, Wilson upright. Garrett Bowles, who from 3 years ago, a Pepsi machine was a heck of a lot better than him. Was a Coke machine was worse than Bowles, but the Pepsi machine was way better. And he has improved. He was a Pro Bowler. Last year, he kind of took a step back, had some injuries, was a little bit, and that probably affected his consistency, but he has improved a lot. And that's one thing for me is I think if the Broncos want to take a step, because they're also playing in a real tough division, they have to find a way to keep him upright. And if they do that, they are, I don't think they're the favorites. I still think they're either the finish second through fourth in that division. I still think the Chiefs are the top dog, but that 2 through 4, you could say that the all four teams, and that would be a first time in NFL history under the new format that all 4 teams make the playoffs.
True, and I think you're spot on. Like you said, it's still Kansas City's division until someone snags it up from them. I mean, was it 6 in a row every year since 2016? And, they've beaten the Broncos now either 11 or 13 straight times.
Peyton retired. I think his last game against the Chiefs, they beat, because he was hurt.
The last game he played against the Chiefs got him benched.
That's what it was. Yep.
29 to 6 or 29 to 12 game. The Chiefs just dominated from beginning to end. That was a couple of games that year when Denver's defense didn't show up. That was one of those. And actually, remember for a couple of years, Charkandrick West, number 35, that was his coming out party. And then from then on, the Chiefs have won every single game against Denver. And then until the Chargers can beat the Chiefs consistently and beat them when they have them on the ropes, they're still not favorites in this division. But this division is, I think, without question, the best quarterback play division
for sure
in football right now. Last year was the NFC West, but when you take Russ out of the NFC West and you have Drew Lock and Geno Smith in Seattle, we don't know about that. And then to think, to think that possibly Derek Carr is your worst quarterback in the division you're in, that's insane. I mean, when McDaniels took this job, he was thinking, you know what? Hey, I got Derek Carr, second or maybe third best quarterback in the division. He threw for a lot of yards last year. He carried this team to the playoffs after what they went through. And then Russ comes in, and now everyone's kind of forgetting about Las Vegas. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And what's crazy is all these quarterbacks are young.
Yeah.
Mahomes is, I think, 26. Herbert's 24.
Married too.
Yep. That just this past weekend, Derek Carr, he's got to be 29, maybe 30. Russell Wilson's 32. These guys could be running in this division for the next 6 to 8 years, which is just me. It's
the division of quarterbacks and pass rushers. Frank Clark, it was announced late last night that they just were able to rework his deal, which is huge. Pair him with Chris Jones. Broncos today were able to steal. I don't know if steal is the right word. I wasn't a huge fan when I saw the contract of what they're giving Gregory, but when he's on his game and when he's healthy, he's up there as one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Best in the league, yeah, without question.
And Von Miller is a free agent. He's ever since the Wilson trade, he said that he wouldn't be against going back to Denver. And Bradley Chubb, you get those three together, that's nasty. So the NFL, like it always is, that AFC, it's always going to be fun to watch. So
let's not forget, you got Max Crosby, who just signed that extension with Vegas. And then, they still, is it Yannick Ngakoue? He, he's rushing on the other side for Las Vegas there. So there's quarterbacks in this division, but now there's also dudes who can get after the quarterback and, just ruin your day. So it's going to be awesome to watch.
Yeah. And we talked about Randy Gregory signing with the Broncos. We can go over to his old team. Cowboys, they signed Malik Hooker, traded Cooper. They let Cedric Wilson walk, who I loved as a third receiver, but to his credit, he played himself out of a contract and being affordable. They signed Gallup, who's going to miss probably a good portion of the year with recovering from his ACL. So they franchise tag Dalton Schultz. Cowboys need weapons. Luckily, these last few receiver drafts, and I think that trend continues this year in the draft, where it's going to be a deep receiver draft. So it's just going to be how quickly they're able to develop them. But Dallas, that Zeke contract is really just hindering them right now. That's just the frustrating part.
It's the worst contract in the NFL.
Yeah.
And to sit back and pay a guy $90 million over 4 years,
too much,
when he has descended in not only value but in how good he's been as a player every year since he's got into the league, just doesn't make sense from a business aspect. And then also when you throw the ball as much as Dallas did last year, why do you have so much money invested into a guy who's just who's not touching the ball, who's not making a difference in the game? But in return, it doesn't make sense, because when Dallas actually gave the ball to Zeke and Tony Pollard last year, they were a better team.
Yeah.
So this just somehow screams to me the coaching staff is getting fed information from upstairs to say, hey, we gave our guys the money. We want them all to show out and play. But the problem with that is there's only one ball, and they're doing things to hurt the team and not, benefit the player and hurt the team and not do what's best for that specific week's game plan.
Yeah, well, and the part that was frustrating for me is when Zeke is healthy, he's very effective and efficient, and I'm fine if he only plays 10 games a year during the regular season and he's fresh for the playoffs. Phenomenal. But because he was short of 1,000 yards, they give him the ball 20 times in a meaningless game with the division locked up, the 3 seed locked up. They give him the ball 20 times to get him his 1,000 yards, so he gets his incentive, which Jerry is not short of money. And
No.
I think any good normal owner would do this and understand to help benefit. If he's a little short, just write him the check for it, because
Write him a check. Just give
in
him the money.
a year, he's going to get it. But, I'd rather have him rested for the play. And it showed in the playoff game where their running game was Casper the Ghost. Nowhere to be.
Let's also give some credit to where credit is due. San Francisco came in with an attitude that game.
They did.
And just beat the absolute crap out of Dallas because they wanted to be there. Just for some reason, the Shanahan's offense, they couldn't finish drives, and Garoppolo had that one bad interception that kept them in the game. This was a couple finished drives away and a non-interception away from being a blowout. But like every Dallas game, they can't end normal. And then it ends on, that play. We're not going to talk about it because I don't want your.
Well, that was my birthday, so
I
don't want to remember that part of my birthday. And it also just showed how ill prepared that Cowboys team looked compared to the Niners, where it was just night and day, where just Shanahan ran circles around McCarthy, and it was a big circle.
Big circles.
But we'll keep moving. We'll actually stay in the NFC East, and the Washington Commanders have a quarterback. It'll be interesting to see Carson. Now he's on his third team in 3 years. Obviously, we are a pro Bison, pro Carson podcast, but there's if you're on your third team in 3 years, this is his last chance to really prove he's to be a starter. I think they actually have some good weapons in place. He's going to have a true number one, Terry McLaurin. Curtis Samuel's been good. Logan Wilson's a good tight end.
Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas, excuse me. They did lose Brandon Sheriff, and I think he's going to a really good coach in Ron Rivera, probably the best coach in the division. I don't even think it's close, to be honest.
It's not even debatable.
They have a good defense. Ron Rivera always seems to have a good, solid defense. The offense and Carson didn't have a bad year, but it seems like with him, it's always there's something with some disconnect he has in the locker room. And I held off on it for the longest time, but when it gets to be your third team in 3 years, at some point you got to figure out what the common denominator is, and you got to look in the mirror.
Well, and then also let's not forget about this Carson on the field. He has some boneheaded plays.
Well, and that's the thing. It takes away from, because he was, I want to say it was 33-7 this year as far as touchdowns and interceptions.
No, I think 33-7 is MVP year. Okay,
but I want to say he had one of his lower turnovers, but it's the boneheaded, it's the fumbles, it's just when he makes mistakes, they're loud.
Yes, and also it's the play against Tennessee. They're, I believe, up 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yep.
He's in the end zone. He's going to get sacked. Take the safety. Take the 2 points. Well, what does he do? He chucks it right to the linebacker, and he catches it. I don't know if he scores or not, and if he doesn't, the Titans score on the next play, and then boom, game gets changed just like that. Game against the Jaguars this year, week 18. Win and you're in. It's the 2-win Jags. There's going to be about 40 people in the stands. The Jags are not good. Be the better team. They're losing. They're losing from start to finish. Linebacker comes on a blitz. Carson's not ready for it. Holding on to the ball with one hand. He punches it out. Jags score a touchdown after that. It sucks the energy out of the room with these turnovers that he has, and he has to fix that. And if not, he's going to be out of this league real quick.
Yeah. And also another one too that I just saw a couple of days ago on Twitter was the one he had in the rain against the Niners, where they were about to go in and he just throws it to the linebacker for the Niners. It's if he limits that, them and the Cowboys are competing for a playoff spot, or to win the East, I think. The division. And But like I said, yeah, and we'll keep moving here. We'll go to the AFC South, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are making some noise. They are going all in and trying to get the best roster they can behind their number one pick, Trevor Lawrence. They just signed Brandon Sheriff. They've signed countless of receivers. I can't even keep up with all the ones they're signing, but they're improving in a division that, to me, outside of the Titans, seems wide open.
It seems like everyone in the AFC South, like you said, is either getting worse or they're just staying stagnant. The Colts still don't have a quarterback. We don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to try to get into the Jimmy G stakes? Sign Jameis Winston? Because at this point, that's really their only options. The Houston Texans have no clue what the hell they're doing. It's total dysfunction. Nothing against Lovie Smith. He won a lot of games in Chicago, but his last couple of years in Tampa Bay, not good. He couldn't figure out college football at Illinois. And then now he's a defensive coordinator last year. The Houston's roster it's terrible. They just lost Justin Reed today to sign with the Chiefs, 3 years, $31 million. The AFC South, there's room to grow. And the Jaguars, like you said, they're protecting Trevor. They franchised Robinson, their left tackle. You signed Sheriff, he can plug and play at right guard. They still have the number one overall pick. They signed Evan Ingram from the Giants. What do they say? A young quarterback's best friend is a good tight end.
Sheriff from
Sheriff from the Redskins. Christian Kirk.
Yep. Zay Jones, I believe.
Zay Jones. I mean, they're building the offensive pieces around Trevor. And you look at, you're getting Travis Etienne back.
Yep. And they also franchise tag Cam Robinson.
Yep, Cam Robinson.
I believe they signed another offensive lineman, or they after Sheriff, but I can't seem to find him. But yeah,
they signed Marvin Jones. So you look at the Jags right now, and this is just me. You can't protect your quarterback enough. With that first overall pick, I'm still going to take the tackle from Alabama.
Yep.
Neal, because he's an athletic freak. He played under Saban. He's pro ready. And then also he's, playing at school, Alabama, going to Jacksonville that summer heat won't affect him. He can probably move over to right tackle. With this, you've got your offense. Your offense is essentially set because James Robinson's a nice running back. Like I said, you're bringing Travis Etienne back from the Liz Frank injury last year.
Punch.
You still have Josh. You have Josh Allen on your defense who can rush the passer. And then with all the other picks that they have after this, you just need to absolutely load up this defense going forward. And with Doug Peterson coming in at the helm, I think that's a good hire. He's got a good staff around him. He's a teacher. The Jags look like they're going in the right direction, but it's also the Jags. There is a chance they could just blow this up and it could be an absolute disaster like it has been for the last 20 years.
Well, and the question is going to be is how long, because both the GM and head coach have had issues with power.
With relationships.
Yes, especially front office relationships. So it's going to be how well they work together. And as long as they can stay on the same page and keep that same vision of what they want as a team, that's going to maintain, that's going to build it. I think Trevor Lawrence is a strong leader. Josh Allen, I believe, is also a strong leader on that defense. So I think they have strong player leadership in place in the locker room. It's just how much they can do in that front office. And we'll stay in the South. Like we said, not sure what the Texans are doing, and curious to see Watson there's no criminal charges against him. So interesting. He still wants to be traded. He has a no trade clause. What is your gut reaction? Where do you think he ends up?
So before I answer that, I'm going to go back quick to Jacksonville real quick. You mentioned the issues with Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke. I think these two need to put their ego aside and realize this is probably the last shot we're going to get at these jobs we have. Because Baalke was ran out of San Francisco. Peterson was put on a pedestal after he won a Super Bowl. 3 years later, he's fired. So these two, they need to figure it out themselves and say, you know what, if we can't do this, we're not going to be able to do this profession anymore. But with Watson, where do I think he ends up going? I think it's going to be the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
Because I think he's going to sit back and he's going to meet, with the Panthers and the Saints and also the Browns. That could be an interesting team. And then also the, late news today, the Atlanta Falcons may be chiming in for that. But the reason why I say it's New Orleans Saints is because I think he's going to talk with, Dennis Allen, former head coach in this league, who, he struggled in Oakland big time, but he's fixed those mistakes. Pete Carmichael, who's no longer their offensive coordinator, but he was the offensive coordinator on the staff last year with Sean. He's still on the staff in a way. And then also look at the offensive skill players New Orleans has. You have Kamara, you have Michael Thomas.
Maybe on both.
Possibly, maybe on both, but you know what?
Taysom Hill.
Nope. We'll take the glass half full approach on those other two. And, the Saints, they got some other nice weapons on there. I think he's just going to like that culture and that team more, because I look at Carolina and you lose Hassan Reddick. Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy.
He'd probably be a part of that deal, I think, because they've already said they're shopping him. So
okay. So you go there, you don't, Chubba Hubbard, you don't know what he's going to be like. An offensive line that's okay. Deshaun's got beat up already. He's torn his ACL twice in his career. Robbie Anderson, up and down player. Carolina might move him. Is it DJ Moore? DJ Moore's a nice player, yeah. But besides that, the Carolina team just to me seems kind of eh. And Deshaun, he has full control in this because of that no trade clause. So I think he's just going to want to stay back a little closer to where he's at in Houston, and I think New Orleans Saints end up snagging him.
Okay, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what plays out with that. Obviously, I would have to guess there's going to be some type of suspension involved too, judging on what's previous.
But what's interesting though is I thought, because right now there's no criminal charges. If it's civil, and according to the NFL CBA, can you suspend a player off of a civil suit?
Under the new CBA, I don't know if you can, but
thank you.
So yeah, it depends if he's able to get those dropped or settle them or whatever happens with that. Then yeah, he's going to be playing all 16 games. The Texans also have good control too because they've been pretty firm on what they want. So it's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen right away. And we say that it'll probably get done right after we're done recording today, but
it always does.
Yeah. So.
Well, and then also I heard that both teams are prepared and have a trade package for those 3 first-round picks that the Houston Texans are looking for. And then also just when I look at the rosters of these teams, now Marcus Williams has left New Orleans, that's a bit of an issue. But Carolina, they need those draft picks more than the Saints do. So sure, Deshaun and Carolina, would help them because they now have a quarterback, but they probably lose McCaffrey. And then also, you lose Hassan Reddick, Stephon Gilmore might leave. That team still has some holes to fill, and that's why I think he might end up saying no thanks to Carolina.
Yeah, so
we'll see.
But the other part too is it is a little bit of a homecoming for him, having played college ball at Clemson. So
sure, yeah, just 2 hours away from Charlotte.
Yep, and the Atlanta and New Orleans, that's all kind of in the area of where he grew up. So
Atlanta's an just interesting team because if they get him, you're not doing anything in that division this year, but in the years going forward, you have the best quarterback, and typically when you have the best quarterback, you're gonna win your division. And people forget how good he was in 2020 with that Island of Misfits toys he had at wideout when he threw for 4,800 yards and over 45 touchdowns. Yeah. So let's not forget how good Deshaun Watson is.
No, you can't. Yeah, he's definitely was one of my favorite players to watch through college and NFL, but had enough NFL talk today. So we're going to be switching over to March Madness, like I said, Ethan was not able to join us this week. He'll be joining me next week as Grant makes his trek down to being a Florida man for a little bit. Uh, we'll probably talk some free agency baseball with Ethan, but it's March, baby. So we all filled out our brackets. Ethan sent me his, so I'll read his. Grant will go over his, and I'll go over mine. So we'll start with Ethan. We're going to start here out in the West region, and we'll kind of just give our own things on what we're going to think happen. So start with the first round. Ethan, Gonzaga, Georgia State. Ethan's got Gonzaga winning. I don't think there's been one versus 16 seeds. So I think that one goes. We got an 8-9 matchup between Boise State and Memphis. Ethan has Memphis winning. I also have Memphis winning. Memphis is a 2.5 point favorite. Ever since Imani Bates left, Memphis has been playing some of their best basketball. They were kind of teetering on being a bubble team, and then they had a strong finish, and they're playing some of their best basketball. I like Memphis to win as well. Go down another game, Connecticut, UConn versus New Mexico State. Ethan and I both like UConn winning. UConn's 6.5 point favorite. Danny Hurley and boys move on. And then Arkansas, Vermont. Arkansas is a 5 point favorite. Vermont is a very experienced team. They've got a lot of 5 and 6 year guys on the roster. I was very tempted. I don't know about you, Grant, but I was very tempted to pick Arkansas or Vermont to win, but I'm riding the Must Bus. I think Arkansas finds a way to pull it out. I might be inclined to throw something on Vermont to cover, though. Moving along, Alabama and Rutgers versus Notre Dame. I can't remember which day they play. It's either tonight or tomorrow. That's a first 4 game.
I believe that game is tomorrow.
Okay. I like Rutgers to win that game, and I like them to beat Alabama. Alabama's been a very inconsistent team, as Rutgers has, but I think Rutgers finds a way to move on. Texas Tech, Montana State. Montana State, their first appearance in the Big Dance since 1996. I think Texas Tech makes quick work of them, moves on. Michigan State, Davidson. We got a Foster Loyer revenge game. Foster Loyer, former Spartan, now Davidson Wildcat. Michigan State is only a 1 point favorite. I think Michigan State finds a way to win. I think that game's going to be a close game. It's going to be a good game. Might be one of the better ones outside of the Arkansas-Vermont game in this West region. And then we got Duke and Cal State Fullerton, the Coach K farewell tour. I think it lives on to another game. Duke at 18.5 point favorite, but I think they find a way to move on. So, Grant, Ethan also has Texas Tech. Sorry, I kind of caught up. And he actually has basically the same as me, pretty much the exact same for the first round here in this West region. So, yeah.
Yep. So the first game, of course, it's the Gonzaga train all the way. They are the best team in the country. They have depth all across this whole team. They got the most athletic 7-footer in Chet. They got a couple good sized forwards with skill and the 2 very good guards. I think one was a 5-star recruit as a freshman also. So Gonzaga advances easily in the round 1. And then that Memphis match, I like Memphis next. I think just, Penny Hardaway, he got something with his team going. They're going to turn that around. UConn, they're going back in the right direction.
Danny Hurley.
Danny Hurley, they got up to a 5 seed, had a nice little run in the Big East this year. I think they advance. Arkansas.
As long as he doesn't pump up the crowd, he should be all right.
Exactly. Arkansas, they're going to bounce back against Vermont. Like you said, with the Must Bus, they're one of the more athletic teams in the country, and they play defense. They're going to clamp down on Vermont, and after getting embarrassed in the SEC tournament, I think Arkansas is going to take that a little offensive, and they're going to hold Vermont to a low shooting percentage in that game. And then I like Alabama next. You're right. They are up and down. You get them outside of Tuscaloosa, you don't know what you're going to get. They live and die by the 3, which scares me. And in a 6-11 matchup, if they're shooting 25% from behind the arc, that's not good. But I think Nate Oates he's gonna get his team corrected, and they're gonna win this. I like Texas Tech to advance easy. I think they're one of the more underrated teams in this country. Had they not lost on the last day of the regular season, they would have won the Big 12. And then for me, I like Davidson. That's my upset pick in that region. I don't trust Michigan State. They have, a lot of good recruits and good athletes, but as a team, they can't put it together, and they have no cohesion on offense. I just watched them play. It's very stagnant. It's very stale. It's very Big Ten basketball-like. And you're not going to win many games in March when you play like that. You need to score, and you need your point guards, and Michigan State just doesn't have that. And then, lastly, Duke, they're going to advance. They're just the better team. And the Coach K retirement run will not be stopped by a 15 seed. But if it does, like what Lehigh did to them, I will be ecstatic.
And yes,
it will be a great day in American history. And if they're playing on Thursday, it'll be St. Patrick's Day. Another thing to celebrate. The Snakes are out of Ireland. Coach K and Duke are done. Let's party, folks.
Yes. So we'll go into our second round games. Ethan and I both have Gonzaga advancing over Memphis. Gonzaga, number 1 seed for a reason. They're very, very talented. Chet Holmgren, I think they're just going to be too much. UConn, Arkansas. Ethan and I also have the same outcome. We both think the Must Bus runs out of gas. I think UConn, they are one of the best offensive rebounding teams. And Arkansas, they do play defense, but from what I've watched, they seem to be very inconsistent on offense. And they sometimes are not very good at getting bodies on guys. I think that could be a problem. I think UConn finds a way I trust UConn's defense a little bit more, and especially in these games, these kind of toss-up games, I like to go with the team that plays defense, able to get more stops. I think UConn advances on to the Sweet 16 to play Gonzaga. Rutgers, Texas Tech. Ethan and I also both have Texas Tech advancing. I think Texas Tech is just going to be a little bit too much. And then Michigan State, Duke. Now, this is where I have the upset. Everybody knows I am a Michigan fan, and Michigan State is our little brother. But they're being our little brother. I still love them. I will pick on them. I will give them a hard time. I will do all of that. But at the end of the day, they're family. We will defend their honor. And you know what? Tom Izzo ends Mike Krzyzewski's career, ends his retirement tour. Tom Izzo marches on because you know why? Izzo is also code for March. Michigan State beats Duke. Coach K goes bye-bye.
Before there was Dave Richmond, there was Tom Izzo.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So yeah, my turn here in the Gonzaga-Memphis matchup. Again, like I said, I'm with you guys. I'm on the Zags. They're going to be too big, too physical, and they're going to be able to score more points than Memphis, and they're going to score at ease. So Memphis won't be stopping them. That UConn-Arkansas matchup, this is one I tossed and turned on. But again, I'm going to stick back to Arkansas and how they clamp you down on defense. I think Musselman's going to build something special there. And then they were a team nobody really wanted to play going into the SEC tournament. They had that little hiccup. I think Musselman gets them going on straight, and they advance. Alabama, Texas Tech. This game is going to be fun. This is a 6-3 matchup you love to watch because both teams can score, but also both teams they're intense and they play defense. But Texas Tech has the better players, and they don't rely as much on three as Alabama does. And I think Alabama's going to get down. They're going to start chucking them up, and this is when they're going to shoot 25%, and Tech advances. Davidson, Duke. I picked Davidson to beat Michigan State last round, so I'm gonna roll with the Blue Devils here again. They're just too big, too physical, and yes, they haven't been playing good towards the end of this year, but I think come tournament time, Coach K is going to get them ready to get going there, so they advance to the Sweet 16.
Okay, and then yes, I also Ethan had Duke beating Michigan State, but I was a little bit too caught up hyping up the
Mhm.
Spartans, which doesn't happen often. So hopefully they listen and it gets them fired up. So we'll stay there. We're going on to the Elite Eight, or no, Sweet 16, where we have Gonzaga, UConn. Both Ethan and I have Gonzaga advancing again. I think Gonzaga is just going to be too much for UConn. Gonzaga just has better players. Uh, Texas Tech. Ethan has Texas Tech Duke. He likes Texas Tech, the Red Raiders advancing. And then I have Texas Tech, Michigan State. I'm going with Texas Tech. I think this is where I think Texas Tech just has a little bit more cohesion, like you Grant said earlier. Something that Michigan State just seems to sometimes struggle with. I think which is a rematch of the national semifinal from 2019 too. But I think Texas Tech also wins this one. They go on to the Elite Eight and play Gonzaga. Ethan also has Texas Tech, which sets up a Gonzaga Texas Tech matchup.
And three's company with us. Got Gonzaga in the first game. How I've been talking about Arkansas plays all this defense, and they're going to clamp you down. They're not going to clamp this Gonzaga team down. And this is when Arkansas's lack of offense will come to fruition. And I think Gonzaga would win this game pretty easily. I think they win this Sweet 16 matchup by 10 plus.
With a week to prepare too, you also have to take that into account. I think Mark Few
correct.
As much as we've given Bob Hurley some props here, I think Mark Few is still a better coach than Hurley. But
and then also, Texas Tech Duke. I think I'm with you guys as well. I like Texas Tech. I like their roster more from 1 to 9. They're a deep team, and this give credit here to Chris Beard. He built a good squad. He left for Texas, but his main assistant stayed, and he kept them going well. And I think Texas Tech, this is when they're going to be able to throw 2 or 3 guys at Bonchero, and then you're going to slow him down. Duke they don't have an inside presence, so they won't be able to take the game over that way. So same with you guys, Elite Eight. I like Gonzaga and Texas Tech.
Yeah, and we'll stay there. Gonzaga, Texas Tech. I like Gonzaga. I think this is where it really shows. Mark Few, I think, is a better coach. I think Gonzaga's just got better players. A day off to prepare only. I just think Gonzaga, with all that mixed together, I think Gonzaga is going to be too much, and they advance to their second straight Final Four. Ethan also has Gonzaga winning as well. So, Grant?
Again, three's company. Gonzaga here. This again, like I said, they're so deep. They have the five-star center in Chet Holmgren. I think another 5-star point guard, and then another highly recruited forward. They're extremely big. Oh, and we're also forgetting about Timmy, who's the best center in college basketball.
And he's actually playing his natural position too. Last year he had to play the 5 because they didn't have a Chet Holmgren, and I think that advanced his game a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think last year Gonzaga is going to take this personally, because really people over these last years, they've been kind of banging on Gonzaga as not they're almost maybe punks. They don't belong. They play in the West Coast Conference, and then they don't play the big boys week in and week out. And then when they got to that championship game, it showed, and they looked shell-shocked. And I think they're going to take that personally, and they're going to beat Texas Tech to get to the Final Four in New Orleans.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no denying that the conference that we play in is, as our previous guest Anthony Wright said, is cheeks. But to Gonzaga's credit, these last few years they've proved where they aren't the Gonzaga of old, where they were they'd win one game and then get knocked out in that second round. They've taken steps forward. They've been in 2 national titles. They've been to the Final Four. They've been to the Elite Eight. So it's not the Gonzaga that you and I grew up high school, elementary school watching. They are a very good team, and they have the talent for sure to win a national title, where they didn't have that in previous years.
And then also with Gonzaga, they're playing teams in November and December.
Yep.
They're playing some of the best teams in the non-conference to prove that they belong.
Yes, indeed. And so we've got all 3 of us have Gonzaga coming out of that West region. So we will transition down to the go across the country and go into the East region where we've got Baylor and Norfolk State. Baylor opens as a 21-point favorite. I think Baylor wins. 8-9 matchup. UNC Carolina. Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite. Hubert Davis gets the Tar Heels back in the tournament again for in his first season. I have UNC winning. Ethan has Marquette winning, so we disagree there. Next game is a 5-12 matchup. The line isn't out for that yet, but it's St. Mary's as the 5 seed, Wyoming, Indiana, who they play tonight. Could be an interesting game. I like Indiana winning tonight, and I like them beating St. Mary's. I just think Indiana's playing really well. They ran into a buzzsaw of an Iowa team, and they find the way to, in Mike Woodson's first year, find a way to make it advance to the round of 32. UCLA Akron. UCLA opens as a 14-point favorite. I like UCLA here. They've been just kind of steady all year. They haven't exceeded expectations. They haven't been below them. They've just been kind of running that. Mick Cronin's just been running steady, kind of just riding that Final Four run throughout. The next game is 6-11. I think that might be one of the best matchups of this region in the opening round outside of Carolina Marquette. Texas opens as a 1-point favorite. They are the 6th seed. Virginia Tech, ACC tournament champions, playing really well. Ethan has Virginia Tech winning. I like Texas. I like Texas in this matchup. I think Texas with Chris Beard, I think he's got that experience. I think that helps them out in this game. I think Texas moves on. Purdue, Yale in the 3-14 matchup. Purdue is a 15.5-point favorite. I like Purdue advancing. I don't think they have too much trouble there. Murray State and San Fran. Murray State is only a 1-point favorite. And I don't know a lot about either team, but I like Murray State advancing, and I like Kentucky matchup winning in the 2-15 game. Kentucky's an 18-point favorite, as does Ethan. Which sets up an all-Kentucky matchup, which we'll get into after Grant does his, but sets up an all-Kentucky matchup who Kentucky refuses to play. So I'll leave it at that, and Grant, I'll let you go through that first round in the game.
Yep. So again, that 1-16 matchup, I like the Baylor Bears. They're too athletic and they're too physical. As a 1 seed, they're going to come in, they're going to mop the floor. Against, I can't remember who they're playing. I just see Baylor, and I say Baylor, Sharpie in the round 2. The UNC Marquette game, that's going to be an interesting game because which Carolina team shows up? Does Armando Bacot get in foul trouble? Can Caleb Love make his outside shots? Does Leaky Black contribute offensively? Excuse me. Is Brady Manick going to be able to take the game over? Which I think they do. I think Carolina, they're just too big and they're too athletic. They're going to advance to the round 2 to set up a great 1-8 matchup with them and Baylor. And then I'm with you. I like Indiana to win tonight, but I think the St. Mary Gales win in advance to the next round, having to play in Indianapolis. And then I think Indiana, sure, they don't have to travel far from Indianapolis, but then maybe get on a plane to play St. Mary's. I like the Gales to get that win. And then also, I'm with you, UCLA, Mick Cronin, he's a consistent coach. He's steady. His teams are always physical on defense. They're not going to make mistakes on offense. I like the Bruins to advance. And then I'm with Ethan on the 6-11 matchup with Virginia Tech and Texas. I think Virginia Tech, they shoot the 3, is one of the better teams in the country. And they got hot here in the ACC tournament. And then also, same with Chris Beard's teams, sometimes they lack cohesion on offense and they just can't score. They really don't have a point guard, which you need in the tournament to win. So I like Virginia Tech to pull off that upset in the 6-10 matchup. And Purdue is a 3 seed. I think they're just too big and too tall. Again, they don't have a point guard, which kind of scares me, but I think they're just going to be able to take that game over from there. And then Murray State, same. I don't know much about them, but I know John Morant went there, so I'm going to roll with the Racers. And then Kentucky.
Yeah.
Sheboy probably be your national player of the year. they're just too good, and they're gonna advance easy.
I don't even know where St. Peter's is at, but yeah, I think Kentucky's going to make quick work of them. So we'll move on to the second round. I have Baylor UNC. Ethan has Baylor Marquette. We both have Baylor winning. I think Baylor's just going to be too much for them, too athletic. Carolina's just, I don't trust them. They're not consistent enough to be for on a quick turnaround back-to-back days. I don't think UNC is quite there yet. Ethan has St. Mary's UCLA. I have Indiana UCLA. When we both have different results here, Ethan has St. Mary's beating UCLA. I'm not going to sit here and say I know a whole lot about St. Mary's. Ethan would be the one. He follows that a little closer, follows those lower schools. And I have Indiana UCLA. Now, if this was back in the 70s, it would be one heck of a national title game, which probably happened. I have UCLA advancing. I think Mike Woodson has Indiana on the right track again, but I think UCLA is just going to be a little bit too much. Been riding that steady, consistent train all year. I think that continues. Texas, Purdue. I think Purdue just has too much size. I think Jaden Ivey just goes off. I think he's going to be a little bit too much for the Longhorns. Chris Beard's got the Longhorns on the right track, but I don't think it's going to be enough as Purdue advances into the Sweet 16. Now, Murray State, Kentucky. Murray State, Kentucky. That's going to be the best game of that second round of 32. I think because Kentucky does not like playing those smaller schools in Kentucky for fear of losing, whatever it is. We don't know, but you know for sure Murray State's going to be fired up, ready to play that game. Calipari is going to have needs to have his guys ready, which Calipari, by far in the tournament, Kentucky on paper, I think might have one of the behind Kentucky, might have the most talented rosters.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about Calipari in March where I wouldn't be shocked if Murray State finds a way to move on. But I think Kentucky has just a little bit enough. I think they get on, score late, and find a way to advance into the Sweet 16. Ethan has he has Virginia Tech, Purdue. He has Virginia Tech advancing an 11 seed over Purdue. And then he also has Murray State, Kentucky, and he also has Kentucky advancing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm going to start out with that 1-8 matchup. And I think of the second round of 32 matchups, this is the one I'm most excited for. Because like I said, which Carolina team shows up, and then Baylor is just such a fun watch. And I got an upset. I'm actually going to take the Tar Heels in this game.
Ooh.
Yep. It's a risky pick, but like I said, they're just, when they're on, they are on. And also Baylor is dealing with some injuries, and they don't have, besides Chamo Chachua, they don't have any other bigs. And I think Armando Baycott could dominate. He could get Chachua in some foul trouble. And then, like I said, you got Brady Manick. You can get him, making those outside shots. And then with Caleb Love and Leaky Black, Carolina's guards can match up well with Baylor. And I just think they're going to be able to put it together and get a win there in the round of 32. And Hubert Davis can go to the Sweet 16 in year one. St. Mary's, UCLA. I like the Bruins. Again, Mick Cronin, I think he's got something good going down there in Los Angeles. The Gales, they'll be excited. They got their first round win. But after that, a short turnaround. UCLA is going to be more prepared coming off that Final Four run last year. Bruins get the win. And then the 6-11 matchup, Virginia Tech, Purdue. This is, again, one of those, I think Purdue's just got too much size. And then they also play really good defense. They're going to lock down the 3-point line, and Virginia Tech's run is going to end. And then Murray State, Kentucky. I think this game will actually be a little bit closer. Now that you mentioned that Kentucky does want to play these schools in state, Murray State probably feels slighted that they're in, a state that they don't get any respect from. But Kentucky's roster is extremely talented. And then Oscar Tshiebwe is probably going to be your national player of the year. He's just too much on the inside. I like Kentucky advancing to play Purdue in the Sweet 16, which is a fantastic matchup.
Yes. Indeed. And so moving on to the Sweet 16, Ethan has Baylor, St. Mary's. He likes Baylor advancing, and then in the second Sweet 16 game, he's got Virginia Tech, Kentucky. He likes Kentucky advancing, setting up a 1-2 matchup in the Elite Eight. Myself, I have Baylor and UCLA. This is where I think Baylor's injuries come back to bite them, where
Mhm.
Baylor's been a solid team all year, similar to what UCLA has been. They've just kind of been steady. They've been able to navigate through those injuries. It came back to bite them in the Big 12 tournament where they lost out early. But I think UCLA, I think they are on a mission to get back. Obviously came up just short last year of their Jalen Suggs miraculous shot away from playing in the national title.
Yep.
I think UCLA rides onto the Elite Eight, and I have Purdue, Kentucky. I think Kentucky finds a way to. I think Kentucky's talent just kind of overrides Purdue. I think they're able to lock down Ivy and make him struggle. And I think Kentucky rides on, setting up another classic matchup in the Elite Eight is UCLA, Kentucky. So Grant.
Yep. So first matchup, I got UNC, UCLA. I like the Bruins. I like the Bruins here. Like I said, I just think they're going to be consistent. They got the tall bodies that can compete with Carolina, with Armando Bacot and Brady Manick. And I think the Bruins, again, Mick Cronin, he's a tournament guy. He's going to get those guys into the Elite Eight. And then Purdue, Kentucky. This actually might be the Sweet 16 games I have. It's probably my second favorite matchup. We'll get into my first favorite matchup a little later on. But this is when I think Purdue's just overall size is going to be a little too much for Kentucky. I get it. Kentucky has the more talented roster and they're more explosive. But Purdue's going to be able to protect the paint, get Sheboy in foul trouble, and then also Purdue will own the offensive glass in this game. A lot of second chance points, a lot of trips to the free throw line. So I like Purdue and the Elite Eight, and then setting up a Purdue UCLA matchup. And right here, I got the Boilers in the Final Four. I think it's over that hump. This was a top 5 team coming into the season. And I think their size and their physicality is going to help Purdue take them into the Final Four.
Okay. So in our Ethan's Elite Eight, he's got Baylor, Kentucky. He has Baylor advancing, which sets up a rematch of the national title game from last year in Gonzaga Baylor in his left side Final Four. And for me, in the Elite Eight, I got UCLA, Kentucky. This is where Calipari's lack of coaching comes back to bite him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if lack of coaching is, but he just can never seem to quite get over the hump. He always has the talent, but he can never quite get that talent over the hump. I think this is where his one and doneness comes back to bite him, his recruiting. UCLA, they're a seasoned group. They didn't lose a lot from last year. I think UCLA finds a way to get back into the Final Four, setting up another Final Four matchup from the previous year, which was a classic in Gonzaga UCLA.
That was probably one of the better games we've seen in our lifetime. And I would love to see that matchup. But you see, with me on my Final Four, then with the way I have it, I got Gonzaga and Purdue.
Okay, yeah, and we'll move over to the Midwest. We'll do a Final Four at the end here, but we'll transition over to our neck of the woods, the Midwest region, the best region in America. This is going to be a fun bracket. This might be where brackets get busted, I think. So we'll start there. In Ethan's bracket, he's got Kansas versus the winner of Texas Southern and Texas A&M CC. I believe that's Corpus Christi. I think we both have Kansas moving on. One seed's been lost to a 16 seed. That trend continues.
That Virginia team can't score. This Kansas team can score.
Yep. And 8-9 matchup, San Diego State Creighton. San Diego State's a 2.5 point favorite. Ethan has San Diego State I have Creighton advancing. I think the Fighting Doug McDermott's find their way to the second round. And now setting up down to the 5-12 matchup, we've got the Grant's Iowa Hawkeyes. I guess you could say Ethan too because he is an alum there. But Iowa's a 10.5-point favorite over Richmond. Richmond needed a conference tournament win, which they did get over Davidson. I think Iowa advances. I think Iowa's probably playing as good as anybody in the country right now. And now that's going to set up down to a 4-13 matchup where Providence is only a 2-point favorite against South Dakota State. Now, Grant and I have both watched South Dakota State throughout the season being in the same conference as NDSU. First Summit League team to go undefeated in the conference. They haven't lost since December. Eric Henderson, their head coach, a former Bison assistant. I got to know him in my brief time as a manager. Great guy, great coach. Happy for him. If there's anybody that can bring South Dakota State success, and I'll be happy for, is Eric Henderson because he is just a tremendous guy, tremendous coach. Ethan and I both like South Dakota State advancing, getting that first tournament win, which they have not gotten yet. Have them advancing over Providence. LSU, Iowa State in the 6-11 game. LSU is a 4-point favorite. LSU is playing with an interim head coach. I don't know who. I can't think of the guy's name is. I'm guessing it's just an assistant. Will Wade was fired for some alleged allegations against the program. We won't get into that. But I think with Ethan as LSU winning, I like Iowa State. I think LSU is in a little bit of shambles. I think that's going to play factor into them losing 3-14 game. If there is a 3-14 game that I think could possibly be an upset, I do think it's this one, Wisconsin-Colgate. Wisconsin-Colgate, I haven't watched any Colgate, but from what I've kind of understood is Colgate's a little bit of a opposite of what Wisconsin is. Wisconsin's a little bit slower. They like to kind of slow the game down, play good defense, where Colgate's a little bit more run and go. But I think in the end, Wisconsin's talent is able to outlast Colgate. USC, Miami in a 7-10. USC is a 1.5-point favorite. Ethan and I both like Miami advancing. Miami's just kind of that tough, gritty team and just makes games ugly. And it'll play off a little bit later in this bracket. And then to finish out the Midwest region, it's Auburn versus Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State got in on a technicality because the actual winner of their conference wasn't eligible. So I like Auburn winning. They're 15.5-point favorites. I might be interested on that one. But and Ethan also has Auburn winning as well. So Grant, take it away.
Yep. So we'll start at the top with the 1 seed. Got the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't care who they're playing. They're the better team in the 1-16, and Bill Self is not going to become that second 1 seed to lose in the first round. And then that next matchup, I'm with you, Dylan. I like the Creighton Blue Jays. I just think Doug McDermott is a whale of a coach, and he's going to get his team ready to play and to win a hard-fought 8-9 matchup. And then, with Iowa playing Richmond, Iowa really, I don't think they have a problem with the Spiders. I think they're going to come in. Keegan Murray's going to be the best player in the court. They're going to dominate that game. They're probably going to shoot well from 3. And then, with Iowa right now, they're getting contributions from everyone. Joe Toussaint, Pat McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey, Bohannon, Rabach, the transfer from North Dakota. They just got a solid squad right now, and they're clicking. And this is the one team people want to play. Also, Joe Toussaint is playing great. I think Iowa advances. And then I think after, getting embarrassed in the Big East tournament, I think Providence bounces back.
Okay.
They had a great regular season. They're a 4 seed. People were kind of finally talking about them. I like them to get past the Jacks, but this is going to be a tough game. Because like you said, South Dakota State, they can score and they're going to fight until the last minute. I just think Providence is going to be just a touch too much for them, and the Friars advance to play the Hawkeyes. Dylan, I'm with you. I like Iowa State over LSU. Iowa State's a good defensive team. They were undefeated in the non-conference this year. I know LSU is a good defensive team also, but to fire Will Wade right now before the tournament, I mean, if anything, they should have fired him 2 seasons ago. This just feels a little weird. I like the Cyclones in the new coaching staff to get a big tournament win and then to go on and play Wisconsin in the next round. I think Wisconsin is, I don't love them right now. I'm going to be honest. Johnny Davis is a nice player, and then, we got Brad Davidson and everyone else, but you know what? They have? They have experience. They're a team full of seniors, and come tournament time, experience helps. So I like the Badgers to go on. And then also, I'm with you guys. I think Miami wins. That 7-10 matchup. I just really like the Hurricanes. And then Auburn, they got the best player on the court. And it's a 2-15 matchup. And like I said, Jacksonville State didn't belong. So they're going to win this game.
Yep. And so that's going to set up in our round of 32. Kansas Creighton for me and Kansas SDS San Diego State, the Aztecs, because we got 2 SDSUs in this bracket. So, well, actually, if they both win, we could have a SDSU squared matchup, but neither of us have that. Ethan has Kansas beating the Aztecs, and I have Kansas beating the Blue Jays. Little bit of a backyard brawl in a sense, Creighton being in Nebraska, Kansas, but I think Kansas just has too much talent to and it's just going to overcome the Blue Jays. So Kansas moves on to the Sweet 16. Iowa, South Dakota State, another neighboring state. I think the Hawkeyes are going to be a little bit too much. I think they're scoring, the way they're shooting the ball, I think it's just going to be a little bit too much on a quick turnaround. I think that South Dakota State gets their first loss since December. Iowa moves on to the Sweet 16. And then we got Iowa State versus Wisconsin. I think Iowa State had a really good start to the year, and they've kind of just dipped ever since. They've been kind of on that downward trend. I think Wisconsin just has a little bit too much. I think that experience carries them over the Cyclones. They advance to the Sweet 16. And Miami Auburn. Oh, and well, let me.
Yep. Miami Auburn.
Ethan also has Iowa beating SDSU. And then in the LSU-Wisconsin matchup, he has Wisconsin advancing over the Tigers. And then he in the Miami-Auburn, he has Auburn winning. Me, I picked Miami because I like Bruce Pearl. He's a great coach. He's gotten to a Final Four, was a controversial call away from playing in the national title game. But Auburn, outside of Auburn, has not been very good this year. And I think Miami, that toughness, that grittiness, gets them over the hump. I think Miami keeps it low scoring. I think they make it ugly. I think which plays in the way that Miami likes to play. And I think that's going to be enough for Miami, a 10 seed, to advance to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that 10-2 game is going to be fun because, like you said, Auburn, they might have the player of the year. And then also, I think they got first team all defense and Cody Kessler. But besides that, they're a bunch of pups. They're a bunch of pups down there on the plains, and Miami's a veteran team who, like you said, is going to keep it gritty. But in my estimation, I still like Auburn to win that game because I think their athleticism is going to propel them over the top to advance. And then now I'll go back to the top of the bracket here. I just was going to piggyback off your Miami Auburn take there. Kansas Creighton. Yep, that's where we're at. Again, Kansas, they're just a little too much. Creighton's going to battle and fight, scratch and claw. But Kansas, their athleticism on the edge, they don't have a real good true point guard. But that is going to take them to beat Creighton. And then again, Iowa, same thing. They're going to beat Providence. They're just scoring so well right now. They're clicking. And also they're playing some defense, which is one thing Iowa basketball hasn't done, I don't know, ever. And,
Not enough scoring.
Not on Fran. For the longest time, that's the biggest gripe on Fran is people are like, dude, play some defense. But now that they're doing that, and then I think Keegan Murray is just the best player on the court. And then Iowa State, Wisconsin. Again, like I said earlier, they're just a veteran team. Come tournament time, that experience matters. and that is going to take them to beat Iowa. They're going to beat Iowa State, and because also Wisconsin, they can score the ball a little better than Iowa State. They don't like to, but this could be a game where Johnny Davis, takes over as the former Big Ten player there and gets the Badgers into the Sweet 16.
Yep, and so moving along into the Sweet 16, Ethan and I both have Kansas, Iowa. Ethan has Kansas. I like Iowa. I don't trust Bill Self in March. It's January, Self, March.
Mm-hmm.
Can't give Tom Izzo too much credit, but yeah, I think Iowa. I think Iowa kind of, if it almost is going to feel like a 2013 Michigan-Kansas game to me, where Michigan just was able to shoot the lights out when it mattered, and Kansas kind of fell apart, which has been a Bill Self staple.
Yes.
I think Iowa moves on to the Elite Eight. And in Wisconsin, Miami, it's both very similar styles, very want to play ugly, like to muck it up. At the end of the day, I like Wisconsin's talent. I like Jordan Davis to carry them in to the Elite Eight, setting up an all Big Ten Elite Eight Midwest final, which, well, yeah, I mean, you can debate, but for this tournament, you can't get much more Midwest in the Midwest than Iowa, Wisconsin.
No kidding. Yep.
Oh, and Ethan has, sorry to interrupt, but like I said, he has Kansas beating Iowa. He has Auburn beating Wisconsin, setting up a 1-2 matchup in his bracket.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm gonna. This first game is the Sweet 16 matchup that I'm most excited for, that I said earlier, and good thing I just have my bracket filled out on ESPN.com. I think I can edit this. I'm making a change. I don't have pen to paper yet. I was going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks to beat my Iowa Hawkeyes. But after thinking about it, and then how, Kansas, they don't have much guard play. They just have the one center. His name's slipping my mind right now, and I don't think he's that good of a player. And I think Keegan Murray can take this game over. And then also with the way the defense that Iowa's playing right now and the three ball that they can shoot, I'm taking the Iowa Hawkeyes to beat the Kansas Jayhawks, and Iowa will be in the Elite Eight against the Auburn Tigers. Okay. This is going to be a matchup, I think, where having, again, Kessler on the inside he's going to really shut that paint down for Auburn. Wisconsin's not going to be able to get those easy twos. And Auburn, away from Auburn, like you said, Dylan, it is a frightening thing to watch. It is not good, but their athleticism on the edge and how they'll be able to clamp Wisconsin down defensively is going to be the difference in this game, where they're able to create more turnovers and get more fast break points. So like the Auburn Tigers to play the Iowa Hawkeyes in the Elite Eight, which is essentially the Outback Bowl of the Elite Eight, which I'm all excited for. I can always go for some blooming onions after January 1st. So I like Iowa versus Auburn in the Elite Eight matchup in Chicago.
Okay. So we've got in Ethan's bracket, he's got Kansas versus Auburn. He likes Auburn advancing, probably similar to what I said earlier. Bill Self is a February coach. I think Bruce Pearl is, like I said, is a tremendous coach, but he has Auburn advancing into the Final Four. And for me, I have Iowa, Wisconsin in an all Big Ten matchup. I think I like Iowa again. I like the 5-seed Iowa Hawkeyes, who probably were underseeded a little bit, which in the NCAA tournament is all about matchups. It's not quite about seeds. I think it all comes down to the matchups of who you're playing and how you match up. I like Iowa to find a way to get a win. They advanced to their first Final Four, and you're the Iowa expert. I don't know if you even know.
I want to say it was the late 80s was the last Final Four.
Okay.
I think Lute Olson was the head coach at the time.
Okay.
It was either the late 80s or the early 90s. So we're looking at 30 plus years.
Yep. That's crazy.
And also,
it could be in the 40s, because if it was between 80 and 82, For our older audience, that was 40 years ago.
It's true. That is true. And another thing that we're not talking about is this region, Midwest, is in Chicago. For Iowa here, that's damn near home court. In Wisconsin too. So it'll be interesting to see if a little home court action plays out here in this game. But for my Elite Eight matchup, maybe I'm being a bit of a homer here, and I'm almost doing some reverse psychology, but I like the Auburn Tigers in this region. Just, again, like I said, that athleticism that they have, I think Iowa will match up with that, and that's something where they'll be able to slow them down. Auburn will be able to get some bodies on Keegan and be able to shut, Bohannon down, and then it'll be hard for Iowa to get its clean looks going on offense because Auburn will be right up in their face, all the time. And then also, again, Cody Kessler being a 7'1" guy protecting the paint. I think that's going to be just maybe a little too much for the Hawkeyes, but an Elite Eight run is still a great year. But I like the Auburn Tigers in the Final Four.
Okay, and we will now. So we've got so far in our Final Fours, Ethan has Gonzaga, Baylor, Auburn. We still got the South, which we're going to do next. I have Gonzaga out of the West, UCLA out of the East, Iowa out of the Midwest, and Grant, you have.
I have Gonzaga, Purdue, and Auburn at the moment.
And we will we'll transition up to the South. We'll actually, Grant, I'll let you take it away here in the South in your first start off with the South and lead us off there.
Yeah, and if you could, what are the matchups again? Because like I said, I don't have my bracket on pen and paper yet.
All right, so the 116 we have Arizona and the winner of Wright State Bryant. Now, Bryant is not going to be. This is basketball, so it's not a boxing or fight, MMA fight.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the Arizona Wildcats. They've been a top team all year. They pretty much, from start to finish, won the Pac-12, led the Pac-12. They've beaten UCLA twice. I think Arizona is a good basketball team. I like Arizona to advance.
Okay, and then the 8-9 matchup, we got Seton Hall TCU. TCU is a 1-point favorite.
With this one, I like Jamie Dixon in the coaching for the Horned Frogs. I think, he went there to try to turn that program around. And I think TCU is going to be able to get a tournament win and advance to the round of 32 to play Arizona.
Okay, and then in the 5-12, we've got Houston UAB. Houston is a 8.5-point favorite.
This is a game I really like the Houston Cougars. Calvin Sampson's they're a very good team. They have a lot of athletes on there. And again, they clamp you down on the defensive end. I think they're going to get up in UAB's face, really slow this, and slow UAB's offense down where it's going to be hard for them to do anything. So I like the Houston Cougars to advance.
And then in the 4-13 matchup, always an intriguing possible upset. It's the Illinois Fighting Illini as the 4 seed versus Chattanooga.
So I'm hearing some rumblings this week that Chattanooga is a pretty darn good basketball team.
We have a Kansas transfer. I can't think of his name, but he was part of that nasty brawl from a few years ago. I know.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right. So I maybe should give Chattanooga some respect because I'll be staying there one day this week on my trek down to Florida while I help some friends move. But I'm going with the Illini because they could be a potential Final Four team. They got, player of the year candidate and Kofi Coburn and then some real athletic guards. So I just think they're just going to be too much for Chattanooga. So I like the Illini advancing to the round of 32.
Okay, and then in the 6-11 matchup, we've got probably the Colorado State matching up against the very controversial team that got in, Michigan, as the 11th seed. Michigan is a 2.5-point favorite. So,
and with that, I'm going to go with Michigan. It's one of those where I think their talent is just going to outweigh what Colorado State has. I understand Colorado State has a potential player of the year candidate, but I think Juwan's going to sit back and regroup and tell these Michigan players, hey, we have the talent to be a very good basketball team. This is unacceptable. Let's maybe try to go on a run right now because we are a preseason, I want to say top 10 team, Big Ten favorite. With the talent we have, what we had, the season we had record-wise was unacceptable. And, like you said, they also went into Iowa and won this year. So I like Michigan to get the upset, in air quotes, on the 6-11 matchup.
All right. And then in the 3-14, we got Tennessee is a 17-point favorite against the 14 seed Longwood.
Well, I've actually watched Longwood play a game this year. That was the first game Iowa played.
Okay.
That game was not close. Iowa won by 30 points. Tennessee they are just too good right now. Tennessee is a very long, very athletic team who plays defense. Rick Barnes is a very good coach. They are humming right now. They ran through the SEC in the SEC tournament. I think the Volunteers are going to win this game easily.
All right. And moving along, we've got a 7-10 matchup, Ohio State versus Loyola Chicago. And this game is a pick'em game. The line is even the last time I looked.
Give me Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago.
There we go.
I like the upset. I think what they did last year against Illinois, reaching a Final Four a couple of years ago, this is a legit basketball team who is very good. They're very well coached. And I just don't like Ohio State. Again, they're too stagnant on the offensive end. They rely all too much on Little. And if he doesn't get going as a team, they kind of falter. So I like Loyola Chicago to pull off the upset seeding wise and advance into the second round.
Okay. And then rounding out the first round of the South region, it is Villanova versus Delaware. The Blue Hens are a 15.5-point underdog against the Wildcats.
So, God bless Delaware and the Fighting Blue Hens. Joe Flacco alum right here, but they don't stand a shot in this game. The Villanova Wildcats are too good offensively. Jay Wright somehow is always an underrated head coach in this sport. He's going to get Villanova playing where they need to be, and Villanova will advance.
Yes. So now moving on, Ethan's bracket, Arizona TCU, Arizona Wright State. He's got Arizona advancing, as do I. We both have TCU beating Seton Hall. Houston UAB. I think Houston's defense is going to be a little bit too much for Jelly Walker, who's been a little bit of picked up a little bit of popularity here in recent this past week. And then Illinois Chattanooga. Ethan has Chattanooga winning. I have Illinois winning. Chattanooga is like at the way bottom in 2-point defense, and that's a very bad recipe if you're playing Kofi Cockburn. I think he's going to be way too much for Chattanooga, and I think the Illini move on. Tennessee Longwood. We both have Tennessee winning. We both have Loyola Chicago beating Ohio State. And then we also have Villanova beating Delaware. And we've got one game left, and this is, like I said, has been a hot topic issue. Ethan has Colorado State advancing. And like I said, Grant, this has been a very frustrating year watching Michigan play. They've played great. They've played horrible. It's been just alternating games. They were up 17 against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament. Blow it just after beating Ohio State on the road. Michigan, like I said, is a 2.5-point favorite. There's already excuses creeping in for if Colorado State loses is because they have some travel issues. They haven't heard on when they're flying out to Indy where the game's going to be played. But I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of it. Everybody knows I'm a Michigan fan. And this is my lock of the week. And I'm so confident in this pick. I don't even bet usually. I would be, but we'll take a little bit of a step back here. Colorado State's been great all year. David Roddy is that potential player of the year. He's averaging 19 and 8. And luckily, I have a good friend who his family is a Colorado State alum. And so he gave me his hat. And we also have a friendly wager on this game. If Colorado State wins, I got to get him a steak. He, when I was picking up this hat, he showed me his cigar box. So if Michigan wins, this is a cigar box, or I get to smoke one of his cigars. So, Grant, I have a question for you. Do you know who Michigan plays in the first game of the football season this year?
I have a hunch I know where this is going. Do they play the Colorado State Rams?
You're darn right they do. And you know
That's what I thought.
This is a preview of what's going to happen. Michigan's going to whoop Colorado State's ass. Go blue all the way. Lock of the week. I'm betting 2.5 on Michigan to win. So, you know what? Go blue. Michigan State advances, and they shut the haters up for a game.
That was delicious. That was fantastic. I hope a lot of people watch on YouTube to see that. And I like the Tom Brady Michigan jersey behind there. Very strategically done by you. When I originally saw the hats, I thought you were setting up for a signing day moment where you were going to sit back and kind of choose which hat you were going to wear. But like I said, I think Michigan, they're going to be pissed off the way the season went, and Juwan's going to get these guys ready to play. And I'm with you. I think they beat Colorado State and advance to play the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yes, so we're moving along here in the second round. We have Arizona TCU for both Ethan and I. We both have the Wildcats advancing. He has Houston Chattanooga, and he has Chattanooga advancing into the Sweet 16. So I have Illinois beating Houston. I think it's going to be an ugly physical game. I think I like Illinois just a little bit better. I think they have a little bit more talent than the Cougars do. And then Michigan, Tennessee. As much as cocky as I was about the Wolverines in this game, I'm a realist. Like I said, Michigan's been just kind of alternating good, bad games. I think Tennessee's going to be a little bit too much. They end the Wolverines season. Tennessee advances into the Sweet 16. And then Ethan also has Tennessee beating Colorado State. And then in the Loyola Villanova game, he has Loyola beating Villanova.
Ooh.
He's full on the Sister Jean train. And then I have Villanova beating Loyola. I think Gillespie who's been having a very quietly very good season. I think he has enough. He carries them on to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm with all of you guys. Again, start the top threes company. The Arizona Wildcats. They're too good. They're more talented and they're more athletic than TCU, so they will win that game. This Houston Illinois game. This is going to be Michigan Northwestern in 2014. Do not watch this game. This is going to be ugly.
Talking here with
football wise, yes.
So if you're bored and you need something to watch, don't watch that.
Correct. There will be other games going on at this moment. This game will probably be on TBS or one of the stations who doesn't have some of the best games. So, but I like the Houston Cougars. I think their just perimeter defense is going to shut down Illinois. And besides Kofi, Illinois is not going to have any offense in this game. So Houston advances to their second straight Sweet 16. Michigan, Tennessee. Again, that Michigan rant there was great. It was fantastic. It showed why you're a fan. But that ends at the hands of the Volunteers. Again, Tennessee, they're too athletic and they're too big and they're hot. I mean, this Tennessee team kind of reminds me of Villanova when they won titles. They are clicking at the right time and they're a tough team. And speaking of Villanova, I like them to beat Sister Jean in Loyola, Chicago. I think Villanova's offense is just going to be too much, setting up another darn good Sweet 16 matchup with Tennessee and Villanova.
Yeah, and so in the Sweet 16, we've got Arizona. Ethan has Arizona, Chattanooga. He thinks, looks like he's got Chattanooga running out of luck. The Wildcats advancing. I also have Arizona, Illinois. I think Arizona's just got too much talent. The Illini season ends in Sweet 16. And then Tennessee, Loyola for Ethan. He's got the Volunteers advancing. And then I have Tennessee, Villanova as well. And I like the Volunteers. I think, like you said, they're just clicking. They're clicking at the right time. They're just going, and I like them to advance to the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm. And then, I'm right there with you guys. Arizona, Houston. This is when Arizona's depth is just going to be too much for Houston. We saw it last year in the Final Four when Houston played a team who was deeper than them at Baylor and more athletic. They couldn't match up with them. They won't be able to score. So the Wildcats get back to their first Elite Eight, I want to say since 2013. Or, 2013 when they lost that heartbreaker to Wisconsin. And then Tennessee, Villanova. This is going to be a really good game. But again, Tennessee, they're too long for Villanova right now. They're going to contest their shots. Villanova is not going to be able to score as many points. And then we're setting up for an Arizona-Tennessee Elite Eight matchup, which is going to be intriguing because, they're 3 hours apart in terms of time zones in this country. And Tennessee is on a lot more than Arizona. And as Arizona's a 1 seed, we don't know as much about them as we do with Tennessee. So this will be a fun little matchup.
Yes. Who do you have winning?
I got the Tennessee Volunteers.
Ooh,
like
Volunteers.
I think it's almost like it's their year. It's their team of destiny in my eyes. I just watched them play right now. They're long. They can score. They're physical. Teams don't want to play Tennessee. And you know what? They're veterans. They're adults. They're grown men. And I think, Rick Barnes finally getting the Elite Eight. He's going to show why he's one of the more underrated and good coaches in this country. So I like Tennessee winning this region and then setting an all SEC matchup in New Orleans with Auburn and Tennessee in the Final Four.
Okay. Yes. So Ethan has Arizona, Tennessee like you. He likes the Vols advancing. And I also have Arizona, Tennessee. I also like the Vols advancing as well. I think Tennessee's got a little bit more experience, a little bit more to get, a little bit more talent than Arizona. Arizona's kind of been hidden by the Pac-12, which has been way down compared to even previous years. I think the Vols are just going to be too much. Like you said, they're a team of destiny. So in my Final Four, I have Gonzaga, UCLA, and Tennessee, Iowa. Ethan has Gonzaga, Baylor, and Tennessee, Auburn. So I'll start with Ethan's. He's got in the his first Final Four, he's got the rematch of the last year's national title game, and he likes Gonzaga getting their revenge, advancing to Monday night, and Gonzaga playing in the national title, looking for that first all ever exclusive title. For me, I have Gonzaga UCLA, a matchup of last year's Final Four.
One of the better games we've ever seen.
Yes. Yep. And I like Gonzaga. I think they're going to be a little bit too much. I don't know if it's going to come down to that final shot overtime like it did last year, but I think Gonzaga is just going to be a little bit too much again. And Gonzaga advances to Monday night for myself as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, for me in that first Final Four game, I have Gonzaga, Purdue. And this is actually a great game because Purdue can match up with Gonzaga. They're both long. They're both tall. They're physical and they play defense. But Gonzaga, they got more athletes. They got more athletes out there. This is Mark Few, maybe third time's a charm, his third Final Four. He gets back to that title game on Monday night, trying to get that elusive first title. And then he's going to play the Tennessee Volunteers.
Okay.
Again, Tennessee, Three's company. With all of us right now, but Tennessee, when they play, this is when Auburn's youth and athleticism is going to come back to, I think, bite them in the rear end, because they're going to play a team who's just as athletic as them, but they're older. They're men. Kind of like last year when Gonzaga ran into Baylor. Both teams were real athletic, but Baylor was so much more. And like I said, they were adults in there. They're long. They play defense. And we set up a championship game that we all three have, Tennessee versus Gonzaga on Monday in New Orleans in the Superdome. Let's go. I'm excited.
Yes, Ethan and I both have. I have Tennessee beating Iowa. Iowa's which another classic Outback Bowl matchup. But I like the Volunteers advancing to the national title game like you, and Ethan also likes Tennessee beating Auburn. So which sets up for all three of us, which you can tell why we're roommates. We think somewhat alike for the most part. We all three have Gonzaga and Tennessee in the national title game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start off. I like Gonzaga. I like Mark Few getting his first national title. I like Gonzaga. I think this is where their talent shows out. They're not going to be fazed by the big moment like where they seemed like it was last year. I think Gonzaga is going to be a little bit more prepared. I think Tennessee might be the more shell-shocked, a little bit afraid of the moment. Gonzaga gets a win. They get the first national title in school history.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan also has Gonzaga winning. And so, Grant, take her away. What do you got?
So after all this agreeing we had throughout this podcast and with our tournament, this is where I say, not so fast, my friends.
Ooh.
I'm going with the Tennessee Volunteers. Like I said, I think they're a team of destiny. They're long, they're physical, they can score. They might have a little bit of shell shock in there, but I think this is when playing in the SEC and playing adults every single night matters, because it's not going to be too much of a moment for them. And then also, I just think Tennessee as a fan base, they haven't had much to cheer for in athletics in a long time. They're going to travel to New Orleans. It's going to feel like they're playing in the Summit Arena, or Pat Summit Court, excuse me. And I think Tennessee gets this win, just like I said, because I really like their guard play. And this tournament comes down to guards, and Tennessee's got that. So Rick Barnes gets his first national title, and who knows, maybe the first national title in Tennessee men's basketball history. I'm not sure about that. And then for a little icebreaker, score of the championship game, 72-64 Vols.
Okay, a little bit high scoring here. And forgot to mention, we do have a wager placed on this. So the winner gets a free meal for the next time myself, Grant, and Ethan are all together. We get a free meal at the world famous Brazilian steakhouse Fogo de Chao. So that's what the wager is. The loser is going to be splitting it. The winner doesn't have to pay. So that's what's going on. Buckle up. It's going to be a fun couple of weeks. I know Grant's excited. I'm excited. Ethan's definitely excited. We're excited to get him on the pod. And then in 2 weeks, all three of us, the band will be back together. We'll be doing a Final Four preview, discussing it all. So stay tuned, and we will, thanks to Grant, so we will see you next time.